Welcome to the Pub Sports Radio College Basketball Closing Time Show, Wednesday, February 17th. Ian Cameron and Conor Mack, as we are set to break down this Wednesday college hoops card. The countdown's on, like conference tournaments, NCAA tournament, all of that fun stuff, all of that exciting stuff that we all can't wait for as college basketball fans and college basketball bettors. It's right around the corner. So we are definitely looking forward to that part of the season. March is just a couple of weeks away, but still got a couple of weeks of regular season basketball to get through. Let's start with the top of the rotation, as always, on this Wednesday slate. We've got a few afternoon games to get us going, and this one tips off in an hour from now. A little Metro Atlantic basketball here, Iona and Quinnipiac. We've got Iona opening 4-point road favorites here. They've been bet up to 6.5, 7 on the road here, total 144.5, and the total's been hammered up as well. I completely agree with the totals. I think odds makers have fallen woefully short with Iona totals. In fact, I was stunned that their two games against Manhattan over the weekend, both of those totals were in the 129s, or 120s, I should say. Do you not know how Iona plays basketball? They get up and down the floor. They're pretty good offensively. They're not great defensively. Of course, even with Rick Pitino there now taking over from Tim Kluse, he still plays a somewhat similar pressure style of basketball that they played before all those years with Tim Kluse. To me, to see that total with Manhattan, those two games in the 120s and the overshadowed the total in those two games. Those games got into the 140s and 150s. And I thought when I saw this number, I'm like, okay, they made a little adjustment, 139. And I still thought, wow, this is still several points off. And I understand why the betting markets are betting the hell out of this total upward. And I actually still think there's some value at 144, 144.5 over the number. We know Quinnipiac is another team that struggled a lot on the defensive end. They're going to face a pretty damn good offensive team, one of the better ones in the Metro Atlantic in Iona. So I think Iona is probably the better team. I agree with maybe taking the -4. It's been bet up, but I agree with that move as well. But I agree with the total move even more than that. I like the over more than anything here, 144, 144.5. And I still think even after 5 points of movement, I think there's still some value to get over this number. Conor, what do you think here? Iona, Quinnipiac.
Yeah, I think they set the line a little bit low too. I think Iona can cover this number as well. I know it's moved already 2.5 points to 6.5. It's just not really getting my blood pumping, laying 6.5 with Iona early morning. But I know gamblers would. That's be the side I would. They just got back. They looked pretty good. They were on that long layoff. Quinnipiac hasn't looked really good all year. They looked bad the other day. Only way I'd go is, I'd lay the 6.5 with Iona, and I think they could get over 144. I think you're right. I think the total's a little bit low, but it's sure steamed. They saw right away. I mean, they opened it at 136.5, 137, and it's already 144. So it's up there.
You're not supposed to have bad numbers in February in college basketball. Odds makers are supposed to know their shit by now, know what teams are doing, know how they're playing, know the pace, know the offensive and defensive numbers. They all have that same info that we do. You know, they can find it just as easily as we do, but that was not the right number, 139. Just like it wasn't the right number to have 120s. Are you kidding me, Iona? 120s with their totals in the two games against Manhattan? And of course, both of them just flew. I mean, they didn't even have to sweat anything. Went way over the total in both of those games. So, again, they made a little adjustment, but again, I don't think it's been enough. NC State Pitt, we've got Pitt 4-point home favorites, 142 the total in this game. Actually, it's been bet down a little, 141.5 now showing here. Look, I could only look to the Pitt side here. I'm not really enamored with laying 4 with this Pittsburgh team. Don't get me wrong, but NC State, the absence of Devin Daniels, it's caught up with them. They've just definitely hit a massive wall without him. There's no question. They've struggled. They've had some ugly games. Of course, Duke absolutely romps over NC State in their last game. Duke isn't winning many games at all, let alone winning by margin, and yet they managed to absolutely eviscerate this shorthanded and depleted NC State team playing without their best player. I don't trust them here on the road against Pitt. It's not like Pitt -4 is a cinch by any stretch of the imagination, but they have played some good basketball at times at home, and mostly against the teams that are in their, weight class when they're not punching up in their weight class. They can take care of business at home against a team like this. So not strong on it, but I would look a little to Pitt here, -4. What do you think, Conor? NC State Pitt.
Yeah, the Daniels injury, it's gotten to him. I didn't think Duke would play that well. I like backing the Wolfpack at home and them catching points and just getting their ass whipped by Duke. I don't want to take them here catching points. And I think the line's pretty fair. I wouldn't go rushing the window lay 4.5 with Pitt, but they're the better team right now, more healthy. And if I had to, I'd lay the 4.5 with Pitt in this one. And I'd lean towards the over, even without the injuries. Pitt's been kind of an over team lately, the last few weeks. And we know NC State all year is a team that plays in the 70s. So I'd look towards this over 141 as well.
Yeah, I wouldn't argue with that. I think it's got a chance to go over. It's just with Pitt, especially, sometimes their shooting goes in and out, but they have been trending over, no question. I would prefer that than the under. I would agree there. Evansville, Indiana State. We've got Indiana State 6.5-point home favorites, 127.5 the total in this game. I prefer to back Evansville at home. I actually took Evansville against this same Indiana State team on Sunday. They were getting 2.5, 3. And it just didn't go well for them in the second half. They had a good first half. They were right in the game. I think it was tied at halftime. And then the Sycamores dominated the second half against the Purple Aces and ended up pulling away down the stretch. And I don't really love Evansville on the road. They're 1-7 straight up on the road. Indiana State, they're only a 500-point spread team at home, but they definitely are the better of these teams. And after losing with Evansville at home, where they're better than they are on the road, I'm not sure I'm in a rush to come right back with Evansville here in this one, but the betting markets are, they've bet this one down from 7.5 to 6.5. So some Evansville support, none of it's mine. I passed on this game. What do you think, Conor? Evansville, Indiana State.
Yeah, I agree with it. I haven't bet it either, but I'd take the 6.5 here with Evansville. I think they were right when it was at 7.5. It'd be a lot better. I like Indiana State, but even against Evansville, 6.5 with them. We talked about Kent State yesterday, maybe Austin P. They're at home now, but some of these teams we don't want to see laying 6.5, 8.5, where they got to win by margin. It's just difficult. So the only side I'd be here is take the 6 with Evansville or just pass on this one.
All right, we go to the Big East here. Marquette and Butler. Butler at Hinkle Fieldhouse laying 2 at home, 129.5 the total in this game. What on earth has happened to Woj here, Wojciechowski, and this Marquette team? As I like to call him, James Corden's clone, Steve Wojciechowski, the head coach of Marquette. He really looks like him too. It's like almost like dead ringer status. But nevertheless, his Marquette Golden Eagles are just spitting a bit right. It has been a brutal stretch for them. They are just 1-6 straight up their last 7 games. Oddly enough, their one win was against this Butler team, 70-67 at home back on February the 2nd. But other than that, it's been a tough go for Marquette. Now they're in the middle right now of a road trip. They played at Villanova, got blasted. They actually covered the number in defeat against Seton Hall, 57-51, but still not winning games. And they're in a price range here, Conor. Your team's not winning games, and they're only getting +2. They've got to pretty much win the game here if they're going to cash a ticket in this game. But, for the Marquette the Golden Eagles, it's just been all kinds of issues for this basketball team. Defensively, we've seen them get carved up, 71-96 allowed to Villanova. And offensively, without Marcus Howard, who, of course, gone after last year, not the same offensive team. DJ Carton, Theo John, and not much else for the Marquette Golden Eagles offensively here. And Butler's been pretty stingy lately at home. You look at the Bulldogs, their recent games, beat St. John's at home, covered and won against DePaul at home, beat Creighton in overtime at home. That was probably their best win of the season. Yeah, I don't want Marquette here, and Marquette already beat Butler once, so I think Marquette's going to have Butler's attention here. I like Butler here a little bit, -2. It won't be a large bet for me, but I think there's enough here, a short enough number here to take Butler, just asking them to win the game at home against a reeling Marquette team. Conor, what do you think, Butler, Marquette?
I gotta agree, with you here. I like the short number. Butler basically just has to win it. Marquette's fallen on hard times. I'm surprised a little bit early on how well they played without Howard. He's such a part of their offense last year. And they played some good games, Wisconsin, but it's kind of the season's gone on. They've worn down. And this is where we talk about teams we like, Minnesota, Butler. These are teams I like backing at home. Short number, like Maryland the other day or Minnesota. I'll take Butler here, -2. I think they can get it done. They're trending up. Marquette's trending down. Just got to win it. I'm on Butler.
All right, like in Butler as well. Yeah, it's hard to back this Marquette team, especially just asking them to win games when they haven't been doing that lately. Samford and Furman. Furman laying 16 and a half at home, 149 and a half the total in this one. Samford is obviously besieged by injuries right now, this Samford team, and that explains why Furman is laying such a big number here against Samford. And they fought the good fight, but they've only got like 9 or 10 players available to them right now, Samford, because of these injuries. So it's been and not only injuries, but the guys have left the program and opted out. So it's been a struggle here for this Samford team. They've lost 9 in a row. At times they've been competitive. They took Mercer to overtime twice, but lost both times. But the bottom fell out for them against VMI, 85-56, a hideous loss. VMI solid, but if you're losing 85-56 to VMI, and again, the absences are starting to add up. The fact that this team's woefully shorthanded right now, that's a problem. And now you got to play this Furman team that, arguably the best team, one of in this conference. They've been able to beat good teams at home, Mercer, ETSU. They did lose against Wofford. Other than that, they've been able to bounce back at home, beat up on Greensboro by 19, beat Western Carolina by 17 in their last home game. It's hard to lay this many. It really is, but man, tempted. Very, very tempted to lay the 16. This could get really out of hand here for Samford. They're beaten up, and now they're facing a really good Furman team that's been starting to flip it into high gear here down the stretch. What do you think, Conor, with this one, the Samford Bulldogs and the Furman Paladins?
And then I have to stay off because I like Furman. We've liked them since the beginning of the year. I know we talked about them. The Paladins, they're a really good basketball team. I don't know about laying 16 here. I like Samford all year. The injuries, like you talked about, and that I can't get over the beatdown, the VMI one, like you just talked about. That's got me out of my head. If they didn't lose so bad there and the injuries, I'd grab the 16 with Samford, but I can't, so I'm going to pass. I mean, I'd lean taking 16 with Furman, but just a lean.
All right, South Florida, Central Florida here. It's not the most sexy battle of the Florida schools, but both of them have had tough times. But here we are, UCF 3.5 point home favorites, 129 the total. I cashed a ticket with UCF getting points against Cincinnati on Sunday. I think, look, Johnny Dawkins' team is underachieved for sure. They have not played the basketball we thought they would, but I've seen signs of life here for UCF last couple of games. They played well against Tulane. They were very, very competitive in a tough defeat against Cincinnati on Sunday. I think they're starting to turn it around a little bit. There's definitely not the team that they've been the last couple of years, but it's nice to see the positive signs out of Central Florida. They beat Tulsa on the road. They hung tough against Wichita, lost by a single point. And then, as I mentioned, the win over Tulane. And Tulane's really playing good basketball, been a covering machine of late. So that's a good win, in my opinion. And then, of course, the loss at Cincinnati, 69-68 in their last game. On the flip side, you got South Florida. It's been awful for them. They're on a really tough slide, 2-5 straight up. The only win was at East Carolina, and the only other win was at home against Central Florida, this UCF team, 68-61. So you got UCF in better form right now, UCF in revenge for losing to South Florida earlier this year. I'm going to lay the 3 here with Central Florida and Johnny Dawkins' crew. What do you think, Conor? South Florida, Central Florida?
I see where you're coming from, and I've took UCF a little bit lately as well. The only thing is South Florida hasn't played a lot lately. I was against them, Tulane. They lost. And then they got their ass whooped by Houston. Before that, though, I mean, it's a while back. We're talking December. It's like a long time ago when you think about it now. They were played well. They barely lost by 5 to Wichita State, beat a different Memphis team. I don't know. I think this one's close. I don't want to lay it with Central Florida. I haven't bet it yet, but if I would take this one, I'd take the 3.5 with South Florida. I think it's a tight ball game. right now I don't want to lay any points with Central Florida. So I'd grab the 3.5 with South Florida.
Yeah, you know what? A few years ago, South Florida was not a bad basketball team. Central Florida had a couple of good teams, and certainly the football programs were better then than they are
Oh,
now. The
yeah.
war on I-4 was better in both sports a few years ago than it is right now. But nevertheless, they will meet once in a while. And again, they've been forced out of rhythm. The Bulls have by COVID. Remember, they were off for 31 days. Only the third time they played in about over a month. So I think Central Florida is the side, but we'll see how it goes here. We've got Richmond VCU. VCU 2.5-point home favorites, 142 the total in this game. It's not easy to go against this VCU Virginia Commonwealth Rams squad right now. They're playing really well, good basketball. I've been pretty good at home all year. Don't get me wrong. I mean, 8-1 straight up, 15-4 overall this season. I just am not as – and look, they've given you no reason to say anything bad about VCU right now. But I don't buy that they're better than Richmond. And I know Richmond's had a few more ups and downs. I came into this season in the A-10 thinking Richmond would be better than VCU, better than most teams. I actually like them as arguably the best team in the A-10. And I know they've had a couple of speed bumps here and there that have left you scratching your head at times. But they've been road warriors, Chris Mooney's team. They're 6-1 straight up, 6-1 against the spread on the road. They've consistent. They don't mind going into these tough road environments and getting the job done. They've been able to do that all season long. Even the bad loss against LaSalle at home, I forgive them for that, 84-78. I know VCU's playing great ball, 5 straight wins for them, but it's not like they're crushing teams these last few. Look, they squeaked by Rhode Island. They squeaked by Bonaventure. They beat Dayton, who have not been the same team this year. I think Richmond's a play here for me at +2.5. I think this is a down-to-the-wire game, worst-case scenario. VCU wins a lot of tight games. They haven't been beating the good teams by a bigger margin. I think we get a down-to-the-wire game, and if Richmond wins outright on the road, it would not be surprising for a team that has won 6 of 7 away from home this year. So give me the Spiders, the itsy-bitsy Spiders. Richmond +2.5. Oh, man, that's bad memories of me as a kid. I shouldn't have done that. Connor, what do you think here? Richmond and VCU.
This one should be good. I think the line's right there. You're right. Like I was going to bring it up. VCU's struggled to cover all year and win games by margin. I thought they'd close. It pushed. I had St. Bonaventure +3, I think on Saturday. I lead Virginia Commonwealth, but I don't like it, so I'm off it. You could be right with Richmond. They've just been up and down as well. 2 teams I haven't been able, betting-wise, to get a real grip on this year. I've had some success, some not. I'm going to stay away here. I'd lean VCU, but just a lean.
Look, Kentucky stinks, but they beat Kentucky on the road early in the season. Richmond in non-conference action. Not many teams have beat Loyola Chicago. Richmond did on the road at Loyola Chicago, 75-73 back in December. They beat Davidson on the road, 80s. Like some of their best games this year have honestly been away on the road from this Richmond team. So I think they got a chance here to win the game and give me the +2.5 in my back pocket. Just giving me points as a bonus. I think it's worth the plunge there with the Spiders. I also like the over as well. I'm putting that on my card as well, over 142. I think it could just creep over that number because I think Richmond can dictate the pace, and if they dictate the pace, there's going to be more possessions and a little bit more up and down. That's the way they want to play. Western Carolina, Chattanooga. We've got Nuga 7.5-point home favorites, 142.5 the total. Western Carolina has been just dreadful. It's been a rough go of it for the Catamounts. This is a team that just plays frenetic up and down pace, but it doesn't do you any damn bit of good when you can't put the ball in the basket consistently. You can fly up and down the court all you want. You can't score. You're going to have trouble winning, covering, and you're going to have trouble going over the total. That's why I'm done betting Western Carolina overs for a bit because I was starting to lose like 4 in a row about a month ago, and I said, I can't bet this team over the total anymore. They're just too erratic offensively. I'm not involved in this game either way, side or total. Connor, what about you with Western Carolina and Chattanooga?
Me either. I think the line's a little bit too big with Chattanooga. Right away, to me, they're the better team. They played in a lot of kind of close ones lately. And like you said, Western Carolina struggled. I think there'd be a little bit of value with Western Carolina, but I can't take them. I just can't do it. They're just not good enough. So it was a pass for me too. If Chattanooga, this was a 4.5, something like that, I'd lay it with them. Creeping at 7.5, I don't love it as much, but I think Chattanooga is the better team all around in this one.
All right, we got Greensboro and VMI. Greensboro, 4.5-point road favorites in this one. Total at 147.5 in this game. We just talked about VMI and how they absolutely put the boots to the ailing and shorthanded Samford team in their last game. 10-1 straight up at home. So you're going to give this team 4.5 points. Like, I know Greensboro is definitely the superior squad. A great, right there with Furman, ETSU, Mercer, that group of teams in the SoCon, definitely one of the better teams, Greensboro. They're really good, the Spartans. They're playing great ball. They've won 9 of 10. The only loss is to Furman, and no shame in that, losing to them. So Greensboro is on a roll right now, but for some reason, you're talking about a team that's played their best ball at home and they're a home underdog. So I don't doubt Greensboro's better. They deserve to be chalkier. I don't know about 4.5 chalk. It's enough points now that they're laying that I wouldn't be comfortable laying them with Greensboro here in this game against VMI. You look at the last meeting earlier this season. Now, granted, that was at Greensboro, 76-59, but last year at VMI, it was 71-68 for Greensboro, and VMI covers as 9.5-point dogs, lost by 3. A loss by 3 here, and VMI covers again. So, maybe you look toward the home dog, but I will look toward the over in this game. That's my strongest stance here in this game overall. You're going to get VMI playing fast. A lot of unders for Greensboro, but you played Furman, they slow it down. You play Citadel, who plays fast, but they've been out of sorts offensively for a while. VMI is going to really push the pace. They've been doing that a lot. I think Greensboro welcomes it because they play above average tempo as well. So I do like the over here, 147.5. Conor, what do you think, Greensboro, VMI?
Yeah, with that total, I think so too. When you had these totals in the 158s, because they're playing Wofford and Western Carolina, been an under team, especially lately. But I think you're right here, 147.5. I think this is a little low. I think they've been in the 70s and 80s a lot lately. So I think it could get over as well. I'm a little tentative with Greensboro. It's that point spread that I just don't feel comfortable with. Yeah, they're the better team, you mentioned. But I don't want to lay 4.5 right now. Not right now, this part of the year. And I haven't been able to pinpoint VMI. They just beat up on that bad injury-plagued Samford team. They've been scrappy. They're at home. So it was a pass there for me on the side.
All right, pass on the side here with the Greensboro VMI game. Mercer, ETSU. ETSU, 4.5, 5-point home favorites here, 136 the total. And this is a total move I don't agree with. I mean, Mercer's going to play pretty quick. ETSU isn't, but offensively, they run good sets. They take good shots. They're disciplined in that realm. And it's not like Mercer can totally shut you down on the defensive end of the floor. So, yeah, it's at ETSU, and if they dictate their terms, they're going to play slow. That's the way they go. But I think I've been impressed with the Buccaneers here and their offensive execution, particularly on their home floor. 71 against Wofford. They scored 71 against Furman on their home floor. Some of their better offensive games have been at home here. I know they've gone 6 straight unders here, but those totals were 140s, 152.5, 138.5. Now you're seeing 136 here. That's pretty low for Mercer. Mercer hasn't had a total in the 130s at all. Look at the last 10 games for Mercer. The lowest total was 144. And now all of a sudden we're dealing with a 136 here? No, something ain't right here. I think there's value. I like nothing on the side. I like over 136 here, though. Mercer, ETSU. Conor, what do you like here?
Yeah, it's a pretty drastic line move on the total. East Tennessee State, just their last game against Chattanooga, it's 51-53. They're out of the two teams a little bit lower scoring on the total side, but Mercer's been an over team. They're always in the 70s. Mercer's kind of been disappointing. I thought they were a little bit better team than they've been. So I stayed off this one. I'd lean taking the 4.5 with them. This is like where I like Mercer a little bit better, getting points. When they started laying 8, 9, all these numbers, they weren't covering. I lean with you on the over and taking the points with Mercer here.
All right, next up we've got Kentucky Vanderbilt. Kentucky 3.5-point road favorites, 143.5 the total in this game. If you've been watching this show, which we've been doing now since I believe December, Conor and I, the college basketball closing time show, you know I haven't laid points with Kentucky on the road one single time this year. Why would I start now? Why would I start now with this group? Not going to do it. Not at all. Going into this game against, I know it's Vanderbilt. I get it. But look at Vanderbilt the last, 5 games. 4-0-1 against the spread. This team clearly hasn't packed it in this year in terms of their effort. It's been a rough season. I get it. But South Carolina, they won at home 93-81. They lost by 7 at Florida. Lost by 3 at Georgia. And Georgia's played good ball at home. They just beat Missouri at home last night. Now, granted, we said yesterday Tillman's out, but still, that's a good win for Georgia at home. Auburn, 6-point loss. An Auburn team that's been a different team with Sharif Cooper. And then in their last game, they go on the road and beat the hell out of Mississippi State, 72-51. 7.5-point underdogs. Vanderbilt, again, they need another year or two to get the talent level up to where it needs to be. I understand that. But they haven't folded the tent. It's been a tough year, but they have not said we're laying down and we're just going to, play out the string. They're playing with purpose. They're playing with intensity. They're playing with a want to win. That might be enough here against Kentucky. Because again, you're talking about a Kentucky team that, look at the last 9 games, 2 wins, 2-7 straight up, 1-8 against the number. The 2 wins were a 2-point win against Auburn by the skin of their teeth in their last game, and then LSU where they won by 13. But that's it. And one of those wins was, again, not by enough of a margin to cover this number that they're laying here against Vanderbilt. Yeah, Vanderbilt or pass. I don't love the Commodores side here because there is a talent gap, but that might not matter here. Kentucky's just not put it together, and the play on the floor has not equaled the level of players they have. And even then, the level of players they have, I don't think is as good as it's been in years past. But still, I will not be laying points with Kentucky. I think you either take Vandy, getting the points, or you leave the game alone. Conor, what do you think here with Kentucky Vandy?
I agree with you. I know Kentucky played pretty well against Auburn, but they only beat Vandy earlier in the year by 3. And you just rattled off all those great games Vandy's played lately. I mean, they've really looked pretty good the last few games. Their total's been really high, and they've been to 3 straight unders, while Kentucky's were kind of low. They've had 4 straight overs. I've been on these Kentucky overs. I lean towards the over here a little bit at 143. I think it's gettable. And I'm with you. I think you'd have to lean and take the points with Vanderbilt. Kind of close your eyes. It's not the most sexiest pick, Vandy, right now, taking 3 with playing against Kentucky. But I'd have to take the points with Vandy.
Yeah, I mean, you're looking at Vanderbilt. I get it. 2-8 in the conference, but 2 of those wins have been recently. And that's been a good sign here. And the Wildcats 3-7 in games decided by 6 points or less. So they've had trouble winning these close games. And hey, Scottie Pippen Jr. is the one guy that's worth the price of admission on this Vanderbilt.
He's a real excellent.
But Jordan Wright, Dylan Daisu have stepped up in recent games. Secondary offense that wasn't there early in the season for this Vanderbilt team. The seniors have been disappointing, but Max Evans, Cleavon Brown have stepped up as well. I mean, this is a team now that's starting to get the other guys going a bit, and that's made all the difference in the world in this recent streak of competitiveness that we've seen out of Vanderbilt. So maybe that'll be enough tonight. It might be, because just Kentucky is just a really tough proposition to trust laying points on the road. Citadel Wofford. Wofford 9.5-point home favorites, 154 the total. Now we're into a totals range where I'm interested in the over with Citadel. For the longest time we had them in the 160s, and it got to the point where the numbers were just too high. I actually have this number a little bit higher. Bart Torvik's page, who is very good with his own power ratings and his own data, has the total a little bit higher than it is as well. So I do think there's a little bit of value here playing Citadel Wofford over the total. We've seen Wofford, kind of get into these big up and down affairs, a little bit higher scoring with teams that play with a brisker pace. VMI 158. The rematch with VMI got to 164 in that game. The slowdown teams, they've stayed under, but the teams that like to speed it up, you'll see Wofford kind of go with them here. And you're going to get that out of the Citadel playing at one of the briskest tempos in all of college basketball. And after 5 straight unders, this is the lowest total we've seen from Citadel pretty much during that span. And Wofford, an excellent offensive team, probably has the chance to really carve up this Citadel team. So now I'm interested in the over. A nice little buy low, a nice run of unders. The total's been adjusted now for the Citadel. I think now's the time to jump back in with an over with them. Conor, what do you think, Citadel, Wofford?
Yeah, it's pretty high, but these teams get up and down. I didn't take the total in this one, which I don't blame you. Both these teams get up and down. That's why I just think Wofford's not 9.5 right here. Not the way they've been playing. I think the play here that I like more is the side. I'm going to take the 9.5 with Citadel. I think they're the better team.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of points, no question.
I think it's too many. I mean, Wofford's been struggling lately.
Yeah, not as 2 losses in a row. ETSU, Chattanooga. This is a step down in class, but doesn't mean they're going to win this game by double digits. And you do have Citadel covered 4 of their last 5, including 3 straight. And the only loss was a 4-point loss to Chattanooga. So Citadel might be the side that gets inside the number here. Nebraska, Maryland. Maryland 10.5-point home favorites, 134.5 the total. Maryland can certainly cover this number. I would lean to them because, look, they didn't play well last night, and they still, when they finally put their pedal to the floor, they ran away from Nebraska and ended up covering that game late in the last 5 minutes when Nebraska was really right there, toe-to-toe for Maryland, with Maryland for most of that game. Nebraska's had a nice competitive run lately, but I don't know if I trust. It's back-to-back. It's a weird spot. Maryland didn't even play close to their A game, and they still won and covered last night. So that worries me if I'm looking to back Nebraska here. So it's a pass for me. I don't want much to do with this game. What do you think, Conor?
Yeah, it's a pass for me too. I'd lean Nebraska. They were in it, until the end. They lost by 14. I just like taking teams off these back-to-backs, but they've played a bunch of basketball lately, Nebraska. I see like 4 games in 7 days, it seems like. It'd be Nebraska or anything, and I just don't love it. I take the 10.5, but it's just too many of these matchups I see in the second game. The team somehow covers. I think this could be really, after Maryland beats them yesterday, yeah, maybe not so big today on, kicking their ass. So I'd lean with Nebraska getting the 10.5.
Yeah, it could be a sleepy spot for Maryland. I mean, that is definitely. That's why I think that you can make cases for both sides, and that's exactly why I asked. Yep. Arizona State, USC. We've got USC bet down to 10 from an opener of -12. The total 148 in this game. Total's gone up a bit. I would probably agree with the total going up. I don't know if I agree with the side bet down on Arizona State. It's an Arizona State team that I don't really love much of what I've seen out of this basketball team this year. You talk about disappointments. There's your Kentuckys and there's your Dukes. And I think Arizona State's right there with those 2 teams in terms of teams that have been the most disappointment in all of college basketball. It's been Arizona State. And look, they have won 3 of their last 4, but only 1 was against a somewhat decent foe, and that was Stanford. And Stanford was still shorthanded at that time. And then they beat Cal and Oregon State, which doesn't say a whole lot. Let's see how they fare here against the USC Trojans, who, look, just continue to play awesome basketball. I mean, this looks like the team that might be the best team in the Pac-12 right now. 6 straight wins, 5-1 against the spread. They won by 18, won by 13, beat Stanford by 6 on the road, just crushed UCLA by 18, beat Washington by 15, beat Washington State by 11, and covered that number. This is a team that can't be touched right now, USC. Its best ranking this late in the season, by the way, 17th ranked in the country since 1992. That's how long it's been for USC basketball. But they're feeling it right now. Dominant road effort against the 2 Washington teams. They won a Pac-12 championship. They're playing like it. Evan and Isaiah Mobley are just, outstanding. They're like in concerto, these 2 guys. They play well. They get buckets. They play stifling, suffocating defense as well. They're holding teams now to 37.8% shooting going into this game, playing great defensively, no question about that. So it's imperative for Arizona State to don't play half court against USC. That's when they can really, really get after you defensively. They've got to push, and that's why I like the over. You would think pretty high for a USC game, but Bobby Hurley has said, if we're going to have any success offensively, Martin and everybody on our squad, we've got to push that ball up the floor and get our shots up before the defense gets set for USC, because they don't want to try to execute against this USC half-court defense. So with that in mind, the betting markets kind of, I think, see what I read from Hurley, that, hey, it is go, 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 run and gun at every opportunity here. So that's the total's gone up, I agree, but I'm not in agreement with Arizona State getting the money. I'm not going against USC right now. No way, no how. Conor, what do you think here? Sun Devils, Trojans.
Yeah, I'm off this one. I think the totals will, I know it's trending up, but that stifling defense that I've been watching, it's got me in the back of my head, so I'm staying off the total. I see how you think it could get there, and you're right. That means Arizona State, I think, would be in the game. I'd lean Arizona State getting 10, only because if you have Remy Martin, you're always in a game, I think, a little bit, maybe the 10-point mark. So I'd lean Arizona State, but they've been really bad on the road. So I just can't take them here. It's just a lean, catching 10.
All right, next game up, Valpo, Loyola, Chicago. Loyola, Chicago, 19.5-point home favorites, 129.5, 130 the total. This team can make a Final Four again, just like Loyola, Chicago did a few years ago. They're that good. They have been remarkable, this Loyola, Chicago Ramblers team. And I wouldn't want to fade them here against Valpo. Against this Crusaders team that, at times Valpo's been pretty good at home in particular, not so much on the road. And yeah, you're getting a lot of points with Valpo, but with these elite level teams, and you got to say Loyola Chicago's elite level, and coming off a very rare loss in the second of the back-to-back games against Drake, losing that game in overtime 51-50. I don't think they're going to take Valpo lightly. This has woodshed beatdown written all over it. It would be lay the points or nothing for me with the Ramblers. What do you think, Conor?
Yeah, me too. But I don't want to lay 19.5. And Valpo's disappointed me. They've had these games that they've played pretty well, like against Drake. And, I'm on them. And Bradley, who hasn't kicked anyone's ass, kicked their ass. So they disappointed me, Valpo, in spots. 19.5 is a ton of points. I'm off it totally. Chicago's, when they're on, their defense is that suffocating. It could be a long night for Valpo here.
Yeah. Mark's saying Valpo could. Yeah, they could. I mean, but they haven't been as good on the road. And I don't want Loyola. I don't want to go against Loyola off a loss. I just don't. Because if they are focused and put the pedal down for 40 minutes, they can win by 20. Absolutely, they can. And that's enough for me to not want Valpo there. Drake, Northern Iowa. Drake, 4.5-point road favorites, 141 the total. A lot of money coming in on Northern Iowa. And I understand this. This is a spot that you worry about a little for Drake. Laying points on the road off the win of their season, probably against Loyola Chicago in overtime. Let down, flat spot. You worry about that. But I can't get past the fact you're laying 4.5 with the much, and I mean much superior team. I know they're without Hemphill, one of their top scorers, Drake, but they've adjusted to life without him. They've still found ways to keep going without him. Northern Iowa has not found ways to get anything going without with their injury to Green earlier this season as well on this Northern Iowa Panthers team. They have not been anywhere close to the team that people thought they would be without him on the floor. They've just been a big disappointment. And I know the spot's dubious for Drake, but there's no way I would look Northern Iowa here. It's Drake or pass. Conor, what do you think here?
Yeah, this is the ultimate flat spot game after winning that game in OT. Northern Iowa just hasn't been good all year. They played well a few times at home. So if you want them, I just don't like them this much. I'd want more points in this spot. Drake kicked their ass earlier. I'd still lean Northern Iowa. I just even need points. I need probably 7 or 8 to feel really comfortable taking Northern Iowa.
All right, next up, we've got Kansas State. Kansas, 12.5-point road favorites, 133.5 the total in this game. Not much on this game. Kansas has started to pick it up a little bit, but I still don't want to rush to lay 12.5 on the road here in a rivalry game. And I know Kansas State's having a tough time, but a lot of points in a rivalry game. I'm off the game entirely. What do you think, Conor? Kansas State. Sunflower State showdown, yeah?
Yeah, in Manhattan. I'd lean K-State catching 13. but I don't love it. I haven't bet this one either. And nothing on the total. Both these teams, Kansas has shown the ability to score a lot. In other games, go back, play in the high 50s, low 60s. And K-State struggled to score at times. So nothing on the total at 134. I just lean them catching the points. I'd only be laying Kansas points like this maybe at home, and that's a big if. They've been kind of up and down all year. So I lean K-State catching the 13.
Yeah, I'm with you. And the more I look at it, you look at the recent home games for Kansas State. I mean, 7-point loss to A&M, 11-point loss to Texas Tech, 3-point loss to Texas. Some decent teams, and all of those losses were less than this point spread. So, yeah, it makes you think Kansas State plus the points are nothing, at least for me. That's the way I would go. Wyoming, New Mexico. Wyoming, 6.5-point road favorites, 138 the total in this game. I know Wyoming's a young group, but this is a team that I think at times this year they've really impressed me. The way they played against Nevada recently, very impressive. Offensively, defensively, the team stepped up pretty well as well. It's been a rough go last 4, but you played 2 of the best teams in the Mountain West, San Diego State, Colorado State. So you're going to lose those games if you're Wyoming. That ain't New Mexico. New Mexico is horrid. Their only win in conference play is San Jose State. That is awful. They're losing both games to Fresno. They aren't really all that good. They aren't any good, Fresno, and they lost both of those games, New Mexico. I'm going to lay the points with Wyoming. You would think Wyoming laying points on the road, isn't that Duke? New Mexico is really that horrid. And I think Wyoming could get the job done here. I like Wyoming laying the modest number here. What do you think, Conor, here? Wyoming, New Mexico.
Yeah, I got to pass. I can't lay the points with Wyoming. I just can't do it. They've been not very good. They're the better of these two teams a bit, but not 6.5. I mean, New Mexico hasn't played in so long. They had that big break. I'd either take the points with them or pass on this one. I think it could go over the total. As long as New Mexico scores enough here, Wyoming's a team that they like pace. They get up in the 80s. So maybe lean towards the over 138.
Someone in the chat asking Drake first half. I don't want Drake first. I'd actually really prefer full game because what if they're a little bit sluggish early? This could be a sluggish early, they come on late type of game for Drake. I could see that. So I can't say I love the first half there with Drake today. I'd probably prefer the full game. DePaul, Seton Hall. Seton Hall, 14-point home favorites, 139 in this game. The total would lean over the total. Seton Hall, I believe they're off a loss, if I'm not mistaken. So I would not want to step in front of this team here against obviously a sad sack team like DePaul. 1-3 straight up, 2-2 against the spread on the road, 3-9 overall. Seton Hall, no, they did. They beat Marquette in their last game, 2 straight.
Marquette, yeah.
And then UConn before that. So they're in good form. DePaul, look at the last few games. They lose by 13 to St. John's, lose by 10 at Butler, lose by 10 at home against Providence. No, I don't trust DePaul enough. But I don't want to lay 14 either, but don't trust DePaul enough. Lean to the over, if anything. What do you think, Conor, with DePaul and Seton Hall?
Yeah, I can't lay it. I thought it was laying 7 against Marquette was a stretch, and it was. They only won by 6 coming down to it. I wouldn't lay 14 with Seton Hall. Not this team. Some of these teams that have these records, they're laying this big of points. DePaul's not very good, but they've been able to hang in this margin. I lean toward catching the points here in this one. They haven't been a good road team, but I take the 14 with DePaul.
Yeah, it is a big number with Seton Hall, no question. Duke, Wake Forest. Duke, 6.5-point road favorites, 144 the total in this game. Here we go again. This is Kentucky, the sequel. I ain't laying points with Duke on the road. Forget about it. It's just not going to happen. And look, I know they finally got the job done on the road in their last game. Just a beatdown it was over NC State, 69-53. But again, you have to look and really scrutinize every result for Duke, and including that one. NC State is a shell of themselves without Daniels. Their season's almost fallen apart without him, and I think Duke took advantage of that and won a rare blowout win on the road. Look at other than that. What has Duke done on the road? They only lost by double digits, or lost as a double-digit favorite to Miami on the road. They lost to Louisville. They lost to Pitt as favorites. They lost at Virginia Tech. They've been a brutal road team. They have one good road performance, that game against an NC State team without their best player. Is that enough of a piece of evidence to say Duke is back? Duke's going to become this road warrior all of a sudden? No, not in my mind. And all Wake Forest has been doing lately is just scrapping, competing, been in every game. Look at this Steve Forbes. I'm. It's like I'm beating this drum every time we talk about a Wake Forest game, but it's true. It was a great hire from East Tennessee State. The guy can flat out coach. Look what they've done. 4-point loss to Tech, 7-point loss at North Carolina, beat Pitt, 5-point loss at NC State, beat Miami at home. They had one bad game at Notre Dame. That's really the one game you scratch your head and say, what happened to Wake when they lost 79-58 at Notre Dame? But right after that, they beat Boston College. They they hung tough with Florida State, an excellent Seminoles team, took them to overtime and lost by 7. This number can't be 6.5. I think this number has been inflated by that last win by Duke against a depleted NC State team. No way. Wake Forest here, plus 6.5. This is down to the wire. And hell, if they win outright, this is no shock to me. It may shock odds makers who put Duke out here as a 6.5-point road favorite, but it's not going to shock me. I like the Demon Deacons here. And right now, Steve Forbes might be the better of these coaches, X's and O's, and tactically, I think he is. Coach K's always made his bread and butter off, recruiting so well. Now he's actually having to coach a little bit because the team's not as good, and he's not getting it done right now. Conor, what do you think, Duke and Wake Forest?
Yeah, I'm not big on Duke, and I'm not going to take him laying anything. And one performance against a team without Daniels and NC State's not going to change my mind. I've been the Wake guy all the way through. I thought it was crazy they were catching 13 at Florida State. I knew Florida State was better. Wake Forest played their tails off. Got to OT and kind of fell apart late. I got to take the 6.5. I think Wake could win it outright. I'd put a little, maybe, depending on how everyone likes to bet different, maybe half your money on this one money line. Like you said, I think this could be an outright win, not only the cover. So I'm with you. And I think it gets over. Wake's been an over team. Duke's been an over team. It's a little up there at 144, but I think we can get over the total as well.
Yeah, Wake has actually improved offensively a little bit the last few games. There's no question. I would lean over. I just like the side even more than that with Wake in this one. Next up, we've got, as we go down, we've only got a couple games left. Remember, Ski Profit and I have the NBA closing time show right after this. Utah State, Boise State, good one in the Mountain West. Boise State, 1.5-point home favorites, 138 the total. Boise, every time they play someone pretty good, they've struggled, and Utah State's pretty damn good. I'm not sure Boise should be favored here. I know they're at home. I think Utah State's the better team. I know Utah State's had a hiatus. You're a little worried about that. I'm not worried enough to pass up taking points with what I think is the better team. And I think the better team's Utah State. So I like them plus 1.5 here. Conor, what's your take? Utah State, Boise State.
Yeah, this one should be good. Yeah, I don't know how much Boise State should be favored in this one either. One thing Utah State's been able to play well is on the road. They were last year great on the road, and they've been really good this year. I'm with you. This one could be close. I take the bucket with Utah State. I agree. And I think this one could get over the total, especially when Boise's getting up and going. They're a team that wants to be in the high 70s. So I lean towards the over in as well.
All right, next up, we've got Minnesota, Indiana, and the Big Ten. Indiana, 6.5-point home favorites, 137 the total in this game. It's road Minnesota, and that means I can't take them. The results have been, it's shocking. This deep in the season, and Minnesota can't put one good road result on the board, but that's just been the way it is for them. And yet I was on them against Purdue last week at home, and they covered for me. So there you go. That's take them at home, don't take them on the road. But just before all of a sudden you say lay the points with Indiana. Indiana's not the team I'm comfortable laying 6.5, so I'm not involved here. What about you, Conor? Golden Gophers and Hoosiers.
I'm not either, and I'm not going to take Minnesota at all, and I haven't yet, but I don't think 6.5. If this touches 7, I might be interested. I don't know if Indiana is that good, but in the back of my mind, just Minnesota, the road woes are just so bad. I think it's going to keep me off this game. I just think it's the stretch. Talked about Seton Hall being that big of a favorite to DePaul. I don't know if Indiana. I think it's stretching out there, but I get it. They're better at home. Minnesota's really bad on the road. kind of works out. I think the line's just a little too much, though.
All right, we've got Missouri State, Southern Illinois, back to the Missouri Valley here. Southern Illinois, actually Missouri State, 4.5-point road favorites, 136. Some money coming in on the Salukis. I agree. I think they're worth a look here. They've been covering numbers as dogs lately. And Missouri State beat up on a Bradley team that all of a sudden had like their top 4 players out of both of those games this weekend. And Missouri State's getting some extra love here in this point spread because of those 2 games when Bradley was just depleted beyond belief. Like they had all their top guys out. Of course, Missouri State's going to blow them out the way they did. I think they're a little overvalued after those 2 wins. I like Southern Illinois here. The Salukis at home as a dog. What do you think, Connor, here?
I do too. And this is where I like them. I think I got caught laying numbers with them a couple times this year where I was kicking myself, laying maybe like 5 or something like that. This is where I want. I'm at home, catching 4 or 5 points as a dog. So I'm with you here. I like Southern Illinois.
All right, we have 2 rescheduled games, South Carolina, Tennessee, Northeastern. How about this? A rare jump out of conference this late in the season for North Carolina. They're playing Northeastern. We've got Tennessee, 11.5-point favorites, 143.5 the total. And then North Carolina, 17 at home against Northeastern, 137.5 the total in this one. South Carolina, Tennessee. Tennessee, I just don't want to lay this many points with. What do you get? The South Carolina has actually covered some numbers as road dogs at times. Don't forget they beat Florida on the road, and Tennessee to me is just not playing with that same level of game-to-game consistency that I can trust as a double-digit favorite here. So I think it's a little bit of a tricky spot here. I would lean a little to the over there. As far as Northeastern North Carolina is concerned, when you look at Northeastern, they've kind of stepped up at times this year on the road. Let's not forget way back in the non-conference season, Northeastern went on the road to play Syracuse, and they played Syracuse really well in that game. Bill Cohen's a veteran coach. This team doesn't seem to sometimes actually welcomes being able to go out on the road, step up in class. I think the Eastern dog might be worth a look there in that game. I mean, I understand North Carolina taking the money for the talent edge that they have, which they undoubtedly have. But now that it's up to 17, I'd consider something here on this Northeastern team. Let's not forget, they lost by 6 at Syracuse. They did have an ugly game against West Virginia, 73-51. Maybe you're seeing that and saying, if you're losing by 22 to West Virginia, what can you do against North Carolina? But North Carolina is that kind of team that sometimes the last couple of years they've been favored by this kind of margin against at least a decent to quality mid-major team. Sometimes they struggle. So I'd lean over with the Tennessee game. I'd lean to Northeastern with their game against North Carolina. Connor, what about those 2 games there?
Yeah, with South Carolina, they played a little bit better, on the road. I'd lean with them 11.5. I watched that game against LSU at LSU. Tennessee looked bad. That was rough against LSU team that doesn't play much defense.
They couldn't score.
They couldn't score. It just they didn't look very good at all. I know they're at home. They play better, but I don't. This is a big number. I'd lean with South Carolina here, catching 11.5. And the other one, I don't love it. That's a ton of points. And I've not been enamored with North Carolina this year. So I'm with you with Northeastern, but I'm going to lay off that game. I think it's just, I don't know. I got no feel for it, so I'm going to pass.
All right. And the added board, I'm on Wagner again today. I think they beat Mount St. Mary's again. They crushed them yesterday. They're dogs again. I think they're just better. So I like Wagner. I like the over. Boston Holy Cross. I think I've been on the over every time these teams have played and every time I've won. So I'm not gonna stop with that. So we'll go back to Boston Holy Cross over. Same thing with Francis, New York, and Fairleigh Dickinson. We got the over yesterday. I'm going to come right back to that as well. So those overs with Boston Holy Cross, Fairleigh Dickinson, St. Francis, plus Wagner, plus 2.5 against Mount St. Mary's. Anything for you, Connor, on the added board games?
No, I'd look towards the over in the Holy Cross Boston. I look the other way. It's bad. I think Wagner. I'm torn here. That's why I didn't bet it, but. These back-to-backs, Wagner looked really good. It was on him last night. I'm a little bit scared. I think Mount St. Mary's wins this one, but they're laying 2.5. That I don't like. It just maybe I had to pick them, not at 2.5. So I stayed away. I stayed off it.
All right, good stuff. Best bets coming up. it's been an unbelievable run with those for me on the show here. See if we can keep it going. Connor, before we get to best bets, though, word from our sponsors before we wrap it up.
Yeah, everyone needs another book. Go to mybookie.ag at promo code PubSports. Get 50% off your debit or credit. Use the Bitcoin, you get 100%. So put 1,000, you get 1,000, or at least a minimum of 100. Put 100, you get 100. Hit promo code PubSports. We got to hit up our guys, bulksupplements.com. Got to get all the good drugs and vitamins and amino acids in you. Creatine. Go to bulksupplements.com at promo code PubSports. Get 5 to 10% off your order. Also go to builtbars.com at promo code PubSports. You get 20% off your order. Coconut, double chocolate, mint brownie. And lastly, Manscaped. Everyone needs a shave everywhere. Go to Manscaped. Get 20% off your order at promo code PubSports.
All right, good stuff. Best bet, Connor. What do we got for this Wednesday card?
I just think it's too many. I like Butler a little bit, but I'm going to go back to one that it's just eyeballs out that we talked about. I got to take Wake Forest in the plus 6.5 until I see it with Duke. It's just too many. I mean, maybe at 3.5, and maybe if I get my ass kicked tonight, everyone can rub it in my face. But give me the obvious one that's just right out there. Give me the plus 6.5 with Wake Forest.
All right, there we go. Wake Forest plus 6.5 against Duke for Connor Mack. His best bet on this Wednesday card in college basketball. I'm going to go with, let's see where I'm going to go. I'm going to go to the matchup between Richmond and VCU. I like Richmond. I'm going to bank on a team that's 6-1 straight up in ATS on the road this year. It's been a nice go for VCU. Richmond, I think, can take care of them. Richmond plus 2.5 against. I came into the season thinking Richmond's a better basketball team than VCU, and I know VCU's won games, several in a row. A lot of them by the skin of their teeth. A lot of them coin flips. A lot of them games they could have just as easily lost. I think they finally lose one of these coin flips here tonight against a Richmond team that's been getting it done on the road all season. I think they rise up again tonight. Richmond Spiders plus 2.5 for me is my best bet for the college basketball closing time show for Wednesday, February 17th. That'll wrap it up. Thank you to everyone for tuning in. I'm back with Ski Profit in just a couple of minutes for the NBA closing time show, so make sure you join us for that. Connor and I will be back tomorrow with the college basketball closing time show, Thursday edition, 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific. For Connor Mack, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Wednesday night. Enjoy the games and good luck in college hoops action. We'll see you again tomorrow on Thursday for another edition of the Pub Sports Radio College Basketball Closing Time Show.